You are now listening to Talk Your Jits podcast.
Welcome back to the Talk Your Jits podcast. This podcast is, as the name implies, all about jiu-jitsu. I'm your host, Lamar Smith, and today's guest is a second-degree black belt who trains at Woodstock Jiu-Jitsu and Self-Defense, located in Woodstock, Georgia. Ladies and gentlemen, T J Wuerth.
Hey, good morning or good afternoon. Sorry.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon. How are you doing today?
All right. How are you, Lamar?
Pretty good, man. You know, get to sit down and talk about jiu-jitsu. What's better than that?
Not a whole lot. Not a whole lot that I can think of. Not on a day like today. So.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, let's get the ball rolling. If you want to introduce yourself again, by all means, and let's hear about your jiu-jitsu journey.
Sure. My name's T J Wuerth. I've been training jiu-jitsu. I actually started around 2002, I think, 2002, 2003-ish. I actually started with Romero Jacare Cavalcante down in Alliance Jiu-Jitsu. They were kind of the only game in town in the Atlanta area. So anybody that you run into in the Atlanta area at some point has had some kind of contact with Jacare. And so I started training down at one of his facilities in downtown Atlanta. Trained there for about 10 months and then had a few life changes. And life always kind of seems to get in the way whenever you're trying to, maintain a good jiu-jitsu schedule. So I stepped away for a couple of years and ended up coming back as I was going through school. There was a Gracie Baja that opened up around the corner from my house, and a buddy of mine sent me. He had like a little postcard thing in the mail that he sent to me, and Fabio Costa was the head of that school, or is the head of that school over here at Gracie Baja, Georgia. So I trained there for the next, probably about 10 years, maybe 9 or 10 years training over there with Fabio. Got my black belt from Fabio. Ended up switching schools and training with Vic Rosati, who is also a black belt under Fabio. Vic has Warrior Academy in Ackworth, Georgia. So when I wanted to open up my own school, I went to Vic and he helped me out with it. And so I opened up Woodstock Jiu-Jitsu here in Woodstock, Georgia. We're an affiliate with Warrior Academy over in Ackworth under Vic Rosati. And I've been training now, I guess, upwards of about 18 years. I've been training. And so yeah, I got started early. I had a friend of mine from Pensacola who was a black belt in jiu-jitsu, and he came up and did a seminar, and I knew nothing about jiu-jitsu at that time. And then once he started getting into the self-defense aspect of it, and then we started rolling a little bit, and after getting smashed several times by a guy half my size, I wanted to know more about it, right? And so we're driving around and, taking them out to lunch. And back in the day, there was a paper called Creative Loafing. And so you can find different things in Creative Loafing, like where to go watch bands play, restaurants, all this stuff. And Jacare had just a little square ad in the newspaper. And my buddy was like, you need to go check these guys out. So I did, and it was legit. And that's what kind of drew me to it. So it's, it was fun. It was something that I hadn't done before. I had experience in the martial arts. I did Jeet Kune Do, and I did some Ishinryu, some Japanese martial arts, but always really enjoyed the fundamental aspect of self-defense. And so I think that's where I really connected with the jiu-jitsu, is in the self-defense aspect, because quite honestly, I don't think there is another martial art that is more applicable to self-defense than jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, and it's funny, like when I hear people's stories of how they started, and it always kind of starts the same. They don't know nothing about it. They get beat up by someone like half their size, and it's like, oh man, I want to go back. I don't think I've ever heard someone say like, oh yeah, I tried boxing, I got punched in the face, and it's like, oh, I want to go back. Like it makes me want to learn even more. Like I've never heard that with any other martial art besides jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, it's funny that way. I did the striking arts for a while, and But, I think the wrestling aspect, the ground fighting was always a bigger draw for me. But you're right. You very rarely hear anybody say, I want to go back to getting punched in the face again. But everybody, well, I won't say everybody, because I had this discussion with a couple of new students that just started. We were talking about wrestlers, and so I also teach at a university, and so I get to run into a lot of guys who wrestled in their 4-year colleges. D1, D2, D3 wrestlers. So some of them will come and train also. And wrestlers are funny because they absolutely love that grind and the no gi. But you throw the gi on them, and all of a sudden they don't like it so much. And so then I noticed the guys start dropping off on gi nights, and then they're there on no gi nights ready to grind, right? So it's interesting. It's one of those things about jiu-jitsu that you either love it or you hate it, sort of a thing. Right. When I trained at Gracie Baja, the gym was right next to a big Gold's gym. And so we used to watch all the muscle heads come in and out. And some of them would come over. Some of them loved it. They stuck around. And then some of them, like you said, you put a guy half his size up against him and he mops the floor with them, and then they never come back. Right.
Never come back.
Yeah. And you hate it for some of those guys because those are probably the guys that need it the most. Right. With the big ego and the big chip on their shoulder and stuff. But I don't know. It's a great art. I think there's a tremendous amount of camaraderie and community building within jiu-jitsu, because everybody's kind of going through some kind of struggle on the mat. Some people are there to train. Some people want to be champions. Some people want to socialize. Some people are just trying to, figure out how to get their lives together. So I think the community building and the team building aspect of it is something else I enjoy too.
Yeah, there's nothing like it, man. There's nothing like the camaraderie that comes behind jiu-jitsu. Just this podcast alone, the hundreds of people that I've talked to, and everyone's just been like extremely supportive and never met a day of my life. But we got this one thing in common that we love so much, and now we're all family.
Right. So, how long have you been training?
It's been 6.5 years. I've been training.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
So, what's your rank?
I just got my black belt in November.
Congratulations, dude.
Thank you.
After 6 years, you're a beast.
I just train a lot, man.
Yeah.
I've been, I just love it so much. Like, it's something that's stuck with me. That's something that's helped me, tremendously a lot on and off the mats. And I've just been at the gym, man. Every chance I get, I'm training. And
Nice.
Also, teaching as well. I started teaching when I was a blue belt. Started with the kids class, and then eventually moved up to adults class. But yeah, man, I love it. I just can't not go without it at this point.
Right. Yeah. It becomes a part of you. It becomes so ingrained in your psyche that it's just kind of, you make it part of your life. And that's the same thing. My wife notices when I've missed a day or two of jiu-jitsu, she's like, she kicks me out of the house. She's like, you really need to go train. And because I have people either cover classes or I have other commitments and stuff. But I feel like the kids might be easier to train than the adults sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, because it's like, with kids, they're new, they're developing. Sometimes with, adults, man, they get stuck in their own ways. So it's like you have to tell an adult like 6 times to do a technique where you tell a kid like just keep going, and they'll just keep going. So yeah.
Right. The adults, you have to stay on them more. It's like, why do I have to keep having this conversation with you? You're a grown man.
Like every time I turn my back, there's like a random roll going on. Like, come on, man, we're not doing that right now.
And they're always trying a new move that they saw on YouTube somewhere. That's the other thing that I love about it too. Is like, you'll teach a technique, and then you turn around and one white belt is teaching another white belt a different technique, and it's like, come on, guys. But with the kids, you don't have that problem. The kids just drill. The kids grind. They get after it, right? So that's funny. Do you do any competing at all?
I did a couple tournaments. I did one at purple belt, one at brown belt. So I signed up for Grappling Industries in April.
Okay.
So I'll be doing that one. I was gonna do one in actually tomorrow. They got one here. I was gonna do, but I ended up having surgery, so I had to take the time off the mats. So I was like, I'll just be there in March, April to do it. So,
was it injury that you had surgery on, or something else?
No, yeah, I had my gallbladder and appendix removed.
Oh wow, okay, that'll put you out for a minute.
Yeah, so it was funny because I'm at the ER, talked to the doctor, and it was like, oh yeah, we're gonna have to take your appendix out. I was like, okay, fine. And then the surgeon was like, oh, I think we're gonna have to take both out.
Oh,
and
wow.
I'm like, okay, whatever, dude, just get me out. I just don't want this pain anymore. So they was like, okay, yeah, it's like maybe like 6 of them standing there, and they was like, okay, well, after the surgery, gonna need a couple weeks to heal, can't lift nothing, blah blah blah. So it's like, you're gonna have to take some time off work. And he was like, I was like, okay. And he was like, well, what do you do for work? And I was like, I am a martial arts instructor.
No.
And the whole room gets quiet. So everyone's kind of like giving their like cutting their eyes around to try to see, I guess, who's gonna react first. But he's like, yeah, there's definitely no doing that. I'm like,
yeah, that's a hard thing, right? And so I'm just assuming that you're still showing up at the gym. You're just not actually getting out on the mat and stuff.
The first week, I didn't.
Okay.
I just stayed home and rest. The second week, I just kind of just showed up. Luckily, I had some capable guys covering my one school.
Good.
And we were good at the other place. But that third week, I was just kind of like, I'm just gonna step on the mats. I'm not gonna do anything crazy. But yeah, I'm fully healed now. I'm still taking it easy. I haven't did no hard rolling. But at the same time, I still want to get prepared for April, which is I have enough time. But I'm not gonna do anything to risk me not be on the mats for any longer than I had to, because those 2 weeks were oh my god, those 2 weeks were so unbearable.
Oh, I'm sure.
There's only so much jiu-jitsu you can watch. You say what?
Are you married? Got a girlfriend or
anything? Yeah.
Okay.
I'm married.
So I'm
sure
it's even harder on her.
Yeah. and she like you said, like you're with your wife too, man. She knows how much I love jiu-jitsu. And I miss a day or two. She's like, all right, you can't miss another day of class.
Yeah.
That's
a hard thing when you're injured and having to miss time off the mats, especially after you've been doing it for a long time, and you see a lot of guys. So I'm a chiropractor also by trade, and so I deal with a lot of these guys and their injuries, and it's always that's the first question: how long am I going to be off the mat? I'm like, no, you got to kind of feel it out sometimes, and some people don't like to take too much weight, and I'm guilty of it too. I'm dealing with an injury now where I'm just kind of trying to take it slow, but there's still that part of you when you're on the mat. You're like, let me just try, see if I can go light for a minute. And then you wind up getting hurt, and you're like, all right, well, that didn't work out. So I've been having to take it easy a little bit, but that's kind of one of those things. And in the past, blue belt, purple belt, brown belt, I competed at all those levels too. And whenever you sustain an injury, one of the toughest things is staying off the mat. But I always tell people, look, even if you're not going to come train, you can come watch, right? But even sometimes watching is hard. But I think it's so hard. It is, but I think still just kind of being around everybody that you're used to being around every day when you're training, I think that kind of helps mentally whenever somebody's injured, right? Have you ever had any injuries in jiu-jitsu that were really bad?
Luckily, no.
Good.
I got I injured my knee a little bit, whatnot, but nothing that just like put me out besides the surgery.
Awesome.
So
awesome. And that's kind of, that's one of the things that when people email me or text me, they come off of the website and they go to email. They're like, well, will I get hurt doing it? And I don't want to get hurt. And it's like, okay, well, I can lie to you, or I can tell you, it's just like any other athletic activity, right? And every athletic activity has the possibility of being injured, right? And so you just got to kind of take it. But I try to ensure everybody, look, we're not out to kill anybody or smash anybody. Everybody's there to learn, right?
Right.
Everybody's there for the same purpose. Everybody wants to, at least that we can all agree on, is everybody wants to learn more about jiu-jitsu. Depending, whether or not your goals are the same for jiu-jitsu, everybody's there, and we try to create a safe learning environment for everybody to come and train. I do a situational awareness seminar for the students down at the university. Every quarter, I'll come in, I'll reserve the upper gym. And then I have the campus police department. I have a Title IX coordinator. They come in, they do a little presentation about resources, for victims of violence on college campus and stuff like that. And then we move it out onto the mats, and everybody's always apprehensive because they don't know what to expect on the mats. And it's like, nobody's going for a gold medal today, right? Everybody's here to learn and kind of share knowledge and stuff. So that's one of the things that it's just like any other high level activity, right? Sporting activity. There's always the probability, but generally the injuries are not that bad.
Yeah. I kind of give people that example because as an instructor, you get those questions like, "Oh, am I going to get hurt?" I just like, you could have
only if you don't
banged
tap.
your knee like right. If you don't tap, but like you could have banged your knee like 6 times on your way here. Like, you're prone to get injured, but we try to minimize that as much as possible.
Yeah. And, whenever I see two people that are really going hard at it, I tend to watch them closer on the mat, whenever we're doing the live rolling. So we'll come in, I'll show a couple techniques, we'll drill for like 35, 40 minutes, and then we open it up to rolling. And then, some of the newer guys, they don't quite know what to do yet, but then you get 2 blue belts that are trying to murder each other over in the corner, and you got to kind of go keep an eye on them, right? Because they're just trying all kinds of stuff. And sometimes you got to stop them early in order to minimize the damage, because you want your students coming back.
Right. I can't tell you how many times I'll be in the middle of a roll and I look over and I'll just see 2 people just gunning. And I'm like, "Hey, slow down, man!" Like, I keep telling people like, I can't pay your bills.
Right.
I'm sorry.
Right.
I can't pay your bills. I can barely pay my own. I can't pay my own.
Still living at home with mom, and you ain't got no insurance and no job. And slow down.
Like, slow down, Turbo. It's not that serious. I am not giving no one awards after this. I just want to let y'all know.
Right. The only time we ever really get rambunctious on the mat is whenever we're ramping up for a competition. That's the only time. But you kind of give everybody that heads up too, right? I tell everybody, even if and I don't a lot of my competitions are far behind me now. I'm 53 at this point, so I'm not doing a whole lot of competing like I used to. But even when we're getting the team ready and stuff, it's like, look, hey, nobody's trying to be a jerk here, right? But we are ramping up for a competition, so it's going to be a little bit more intense than your regular training days, right? And so you kind of give everybody that heads up, I think, ahead of time, and everybody appreciates that because not everybody competes, right? And so some of those people that don't compete might just be like, well, maybe I'm just going to go over here and drill with so and so for a little while you guys sit over here and murder each other. So I think the better you can kind of just have that watch over your team and give everybody a heads up about how intense the training is going to be, I think you minimize the probability of injury that way too. So
it's a lot of factors that comes with it that is not really talked about, especially being a gym owner. You have to wear so many hats. You definitely have to look out for the well-being of your students and whatnot. So just trying to reassure those people, like, all right, look, today is one of these days where you might want to sit out. Like, if you want to throw your hat in the ring,
right,
go ahead. But I'm gonna let you know, you're going about 80%.
Well, you tell them 50%, and all of a sudden it's 80%, and then they're going at 100, right? Especially the guys that have been there for a while. And so I try to. So the white belts, the new students that come in, how often do you at what point do you let them start live rolling? Like, how long do they have to be with your school before they start live rolling?
I kind of let them decide. I won't just let them roll with anybody. I just want to be like, hey, go out there and pick somebody. I'll let them roll with someone I can know for a fact that's going to take care of them. Right. So it's only a few that I would do that with. So I let them know if they, first day of class, I'm like, all right, this is how we do class, blah, blah, blah. And after we do our techniques and drills, I'm like, all right, we roll. If you want to, only if you want to, I'm not forcing you to do it. If you want to, by all means, go roll with that guy or that guy or that guy or whatever.
Yeah, so you definitely have a go-to body that you put them with.
Yeah, I'll just be like, yeah, go ahead and knock yourself out. Just walk away from the mats.
Yeah, I kind of I have that same approach to it, and I give them maybe a couple of weeks of drilling first, just so, because a lot of them, like I found in the past, that if I immediately offer that to them and they try it, they're like, I don't know what to do, and so they sit there the whole match not knowing what to do. And so I try to give it a little bit of a cooling period before actually throwing them in there. But like you said, if you have a body that you can put them with that is going to take care of them, that's even better, right? And I think that, because you don't want to throw them with your brown belt mat enforcer, right, the first day that they come in, because then they'll never come back.
They'll never come back. They'll never come back. Yeah, I mean, because that's the approach that my instructor had. Been training under this guy since I stepped on the jiu-jitsu mats, and I won't say a lot, but everything that I've adapted came from him. So it was the same way with him too. Like he would take the new students, and because he can, you can tell when someone's sitting on the sideline, they want to jump out there, but they exactly don't know what to do. Right. So I'm like, all right, you come roll with me. Roll with me. I know you don't know anything, but just do your best. And I just let them work. I don't necessarily have a fear of them hurting me, or, I know I'm not going to try to, purposely hurt them. So I'll just play around, may do a little sweep here or there. But yeah, I'm not going like full ADCC.
Right. The good thing about that approach too is when I find when I roll with newer people too, is you let them work a little bit, you kind of coach them through it. But then at the same time, when I'm working with somebody who's really kind of going slow, it gives me an opportunity to be real soft and kind of work more of my technique a little bit cleaner too. When you're working with more inexperienced people, so that when you do start rolling with that brown belt, all right, mat enforcer, that your technique's a little bit sharper. I found is that's a great thing about kids class too. Is rolling with some of those kids, and kids are animals, dude. They're mean, and just protecting yourself is a job in and of itself. But then you get to work some technique with smaller people too, and that's always been interesting, because I'm a bigger dude. My fight weight's about 205, and so I walk around about 220. And but whenever I'm rolling, I try to use little man jiu-jitsu, small man jiu-jitsu, right? Trying to stay tight, trying to stay compact, trying to really be super technical. That's the great thing about the kids classes, is that you can get in there and you can do that without, having to worry about getting murdered on the mat. So
right.
Yeah, I think that helps a little bit too. But then you got to switch it on for when you're fighting the big man and get back into big man jiu-jitsu. And that's a whole nother monster.
Yeah, it's a whole nother beast, man.
Yeah,
a whole nother beast.
So what do you walk around at? What's your fight weight?
Honestly, I really don't know.
Okay.
So like I competed, I think the heaviest I competed at was like 260. So that's like ultra heavy.
Okay.
Not doing that again. Doing that again. Oh my goodness, dude. That was the most.
That's work. That's work.
Oh my God. Cause after 240, it's just ultra. It's like 240 up. Like they just bunch you together. So I was like, yeah, I'm not doing that no more. Not doing this no more. And then next time I competed at I think it was like at 230. I felt a little bit more in my element, felt more comfortable. So I'm sitting around like 230, 235 right now, but I think for April, I want to kind of try to get down to like 215.
Okay.
Kind of right there, kind of, because I've kind of got down to that weight before, and I like how I felt. I felt the the surge of energy from the weight loss. So I kind of want to see where I play in at that, but because I want to get down to like 180, like fight around 180.
All right.
So
long-term goals then.
Yeah, long-term. Yeah. I want to stick to them this time, because every time I'm like, I want to get down to 180, something happens, and it's like,
oh, dude, this is the worst time to see it. We're just coming off of Christmas, Thanksgiving, New Year's.
Yeah.
And I like to eat, man, and that's the one thing that I would have down here in the Atlanta area, we have, different fight promoters, and they would reach out and they're like, hey, you want to fight so-and-so? I'm like, well, yeah, I could probably do that. When are you talking about? They're like, January. I'm like, January? I'm like, no, I can't do January. I like to eat too much, man. I don't like that's my biggest my biggest issue with competition. And I know it sounds soft, man, but I hate cutting weight. I like to eat too much. I like to eat too much.
Yes.
So, but when I get down around, 200, 202, that's when I feel my best. It's like you were saying, you feel really good from the weight cut. I feel stronger. I feel faster. And so, because I had one fight, I think at 220 or 215, somewhere around there. And so when they told me that, because the other guy couldn't make the weight down to 200 or 205. It was just too much of a cut for him. And so he was a bigger boy. And so I took the fight thinking, well, hell, then I don't have to train that hard to do it. And I was miserable. I was miserable the entire fight, dude. I ended up tearing my quadricep muscle. But I just felt like gassed almost the entire fight. I was in horrible shape because I didn't take the disciplined route, right? I didn't go ahead and cut down to 202, 205, which is what I should have done. Instead, I was a little bit lazy with the training and stuff. So and he was much heavier for the fight too, I think, because we weighed in, I think, the day before or 2 days before. And so he was heavier for the fight, and he was a lot of man to try to move around. So yeah, I'm right there with you. Anything above 220, 240, I'm not traveling down that road. I'm done with that.
Yeah.
I'm done with that.
Because I swear, man, after I got in the car, I was sitting there, and my wife was like, "You okay?" I was like, "Yeah." She said, "What are you thinking about?" I was like, "Well, I'm not doing that shit again." I'm like, I'm not competing this high again. Like, no.
It's hard,
this is
man.
what I gotta look forward to.
Right. Yeah, it's always interesting. It's always interesting. You watch some of those dudes that fight in those absolutes at like IBJJF tournaments and stuff. Some of the smaller dudes that win those absolutes, and it's unbelievable the work ethic that they have and the commitment and the dedication. Because I've seen some crazy matches. I've seen Bruno Malfacine fight against like Bruno Malfacine, super small guy. Right.
Yeah.
He was out of the line. And I saw him fight Gibson Saw at IBJJF, and Gibson's taller than me. I think he was super heavy or somewhere around there. He's a big boy. And Bruno Malfacine just kind of gave him the business, man. It was crazy to watch. And you'll see that more and more on these matches as you start going to more and more tournaments where once they open up that absolute division, you can have people of any size fighting each other. And so those are always fun matches to watch too, as long as they stay active. Yeah.
I've never done an absolute match. It's kind of one of my goals to do an absolute tournament. But yeah, I just can't. I just don't want to fight no one that big, man, because it's going to happen.
Right.
It's going to happen.
Maybe the last match of the day, right? Fight everybody in your weight class. Then if that guy happens to get through, then you fight him and get it over with. So, and then at least you can say you did it.
Right. I'm like, I'm not gonna back down. I'm not gonna be like, I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna complain the whole time in my head. But I'm gonna go out there and do it.
The whole time I'm training, the whole time I'm not eating, the whole time I'm in a sweatsuit. I'm just gonna complain all the time. So
right.
What city state are you in?
Detroit, Michigan.
Detroit, Michigan. Okay.
Yeah.
And so how many does the IBJJF do anything up there in Detroit? I don't know if they do.
No,
huh?
Nope. No,
how's the jiu-jitsu up there? I mean, you guys got a lot of schools up there, or what's the community?
Yeah, we have a slowly growing community. We got a 10th Planet here that just opened up. We got a couple of racy schools, in Michigan. So yeah, they're slowly but surely starting to open up. But right now, we just get like Naga and AGF and like the little smaller local ones, but nothing IBJJF just yet.
Yeah, those are good tournaments too. If you can, like you mentioned, Grappling Industries too. I think they came through Atlanta once, maybe twice. And so I went to one of their matches. But yeah, Naga and New Breed, those are great tournaments for people to cut their teeth on. Right. And I feel like those Naga and New Breed tournaments, I mean, like all the way up to, you get some pretty decent purple belts at those tournaments. Right.
Yeah.
I think anything beyond that, you don't see you see a few black belts sprinkled in here and there and brown belts. And I think those are guys that are either sponsored by New Breed or Naga, or those are guys that just kind of, want to stay sharp for their next tournament coming up. So you don't get a whole lot of high level guys at those, but everything from white belt to purple belt, New Breed and Naga is a great tournament to get into. And then then you have all these new fight promoters that are doing all the submission only stuff, and those are nice. You got like EBI and Polaris and all that stuff too. So, but those are much bigger. But I was curious to know, because I know Marcelo Garcia has a place up in New York. I know Enzo has a place up in New York. But I didn't know anything about the UP or the Midwest or anything like that, because I what I do know for a fact is Brazilians don't like the cold. So most of them tend to stay down here, right, in the Southeast or out west in Texas and California and stuff. So, so I was curious to know, how big the community was up there, and if you guys were growing as an art up there and the interest level.
Yeah, it's slowly but surely. I think it's starting to catch wind. It's like the little soccer mom thing now. So I see a lot of kids are sign up for classes and whatnot. So, but as far as I know, I think we have in my area alone, because I'm more so like close to downtown. So I know we got like Detroit Jiu-Jitsu, or is it like Jiu-Jitsu 313, one of those that's like opened up a big school down like in downtown Detroit. It's a high level competition school.
Nice.
So we got them. We might have to actually search for them, but I know we got quite a few.
Might be a long drive in between, but yeah, it used to. It was a few years back. You would have to drive half hour to 45 minutes in one direction just to go to a gym and train. And now with the growth of it down here in the Southeast, the Atlanta area is growing like crazy. We're getting a lot of people. I think especially over the last couple of years, a lot of people have opened up schools over here because everybody else was so restricted. And so now you got you got Bruno Frazado, who owns Atos down here in Atlanta. You got 10th Planet Atlanta that's run by Sean Applegate. You'll always have Alliance. Jacare has a couple of schools down here, and Noguera runs those schools. You got the Gracie Baja schools are popping up all over the place, So it's starting to grow a lot more here in the Southeast, and we have, arguably some of the best competitors through the IBJJF are down here in the Southeast, and so that's nice to see too, because we got a lot of beasts down here.
Yeah. And one of our guys, he moved to Atlanta. He's with American Top Team down in there.
Oh, ATT. So he trains with Jucal.
Yeah, he just got his brown belt through them, and I'm like, dude, I know he's a beast. He was a beast when he was here. So I know, you just put a lion in a cage full of more lions. It's like, I'm dreading to roll with him again, but I'm excited too. But
it's gonna be fun when he comes back home. So I do a lot of I'll go to open mats and stuff, and some of those gyms will host open mats. American Top Team is one of those gyms, and sometimes I would go down there and roll with those guys. And I'm telling you, dude, I'm a black belt, and I was just trying to survive against some of those guys. And these guys are like purple belts, right? Purple belts, brown belts, and they're coming at you because some of those guys are. There are schools that are competition oriented, like the one you said in Detroit, and those are the guys that are just they're chewing their own tongues to taste blood, right? They don't. Yeah. They're ready to compete, and they train like that all the time, right? Yeah. And then you have other schools where you have some people that want to train, some people that are hobbyists, right? And then you got some schools that focus on kids classes and stuff like that. So, but American Top Team is arguably one of the better teams here in Atlanta too. And I've rolled with a lot of those guys. I've rolled with a lot of those guys. Those guys are legit, man, for sure.
Yeah, because I think one of the first times I went to a like a cross trainer at another school. Good friend. He's a good friend of mine now. His name is Lear. He's he competes a lot. So the school that he's at, they're just competition school.
Yeah.
So invited me out to one of their competition classes, and it was just like walking into like something brand new. I'm used to like my small class, the like us consider a large class would be like 12 people.
Okay.
That's a light class for them.
That's a good start.
Like, right. So it's like, 15, 20 people on the mats, right?
Yeah.
So, we do a lot of drills and stuff like that. And I think for like the last 90 minutes of class, it was just hard rolling.
Okay.
And it's like, it's like 6-7 matches going on at once. I'm not used to that. So
no.
I do one, I was like, okay, this is not bad. I do two, it's like, okay, it's not bad. By the third one, I'm like, okay, I can't, I'm about to die. I'm going to die. I'm going to die. So, I sit out on the fourth one, and then like I think like a couple people left, and then somebody was like, I need, they hold their hand up for a partner, and I'm like, I don't want to feel bad and not, leave them high and dry. I'm like, all right, man, I got you. So
yeah.
I got their role, but yeah, it's a different beast, man. Like, it was a fun learning experience. Learning from these guys, even down for their white belts or blue belts are just tough, man. They just like you said, they just get after it. It's like you need that. And I was excited. I'm like, I don't care if this dude is, whooping my ass right now, but I'm getting the experience. I'm enjoying it and learning a lot from it. But man,
yeah. No, I think that's always good to kind of and so that's one of the things that I enjoy is going and dropping in at other schools and just kind of, getting out on the mats. And I think that's a good strategy to kind of see where you're at too, right? Because I think every school has their own philosophy about which techniques they want to work for the month or for the next 2 months or whatever. And like you said, you might, and it's happened to me too, dude. I've matched up with guys that are white belts. They got this great wrestling pedigree. They're taking me down at will, right? From like 10 feet across the mat. And then all of a sudden I'm on my back and they're smashing me. I'm like, this dude's got to be, a high level guy. And then I'll talk to Vic and he's like, no, he just started like last week. I'm like, but it's good. It's good in a sense. Number one, it keeps you humble, right? It keeps you humble.
Yeah.
Number two, there are some days when I can go in there and I can be that guy on the mat, just raising my hand, looking for a partner. And I'll do that, 4 or 5 times. And then I get with some of these younger kids, man, that are just, they wrestled in college, wrestled in high school. And it's like, I do it once or twice and I'm already spent for the day. And I'm like, I'm done. Right, I'm done. Are we bowing out yet? Right. And it was only like two, it was like only 2, 6 or 7 minute rolls. Right. And you're already gassed and dead. And you're driving home thinking about the ass whooping you took from a blue belt or a white belt. And it's like, man, it's crazy, right? Because any given day, and that's the thing about, I think, that's what I love about the gi is that I can control the pace of the game with pretty much, anybody that I get in with, because you have those grips, right? You can slow everything down. No gi, that's a totally different monster, dude. I think no gi is about who can grind harder and who's more committed, right?
Yeah.
So which do you prefer, gi or no gi?
I prefer no gi.
Do you? Yeah.
Yeah.
I love no gi.
Just for that reason alone, man. It's like, don't get me wrong. I love working in the gi. I've been doing like a lot of stuff no gi for a year now, but I'm starting to miss gi. But just something about that grind, man.
Yeah.
I can just go.
Yeah, I think with the gi, and like I said, I prefer the gi because I can control the pace of the game a little bit better. I think with the gi, you have more submissions available, right? Because you can use the gi as a weapon too, right? And so that's a whole nother encyclopedia of moves that you have to go through. I think with no gi, your technique has to be so much cleaner, right? Because it's sweaty, you're having a hard time holding on to stuff. And I think so with no gi, I think your technique has to be so much cleaner. But with the gi, you have a lot more options. My personal love is also no gi. I love doing that. like I said, it depends on the day and how many younger guys are there. If there's a bunch of older guys, I'm good with it. but it's those younger guys that really keep you on your toes, man, and keep you backpedaling. And so my defense gets really good when I'm rolling with the younger guys. Nogi is a lot of fun. I started with Nogi at Gracie Baja. When I was at Alliance, I was just training in the gi. That's all we did there. I think they did some no-gi stuff, but we were primarily learning in the gi. And so there was a competition promoter. They don't have it anymore. It was called the Ludador, and I think they did a lot of no-gi stuff. And so I went to Fabio, who owned Gracie Baja, and I said, "Hey man," I said, "there's a no-gi tournament coming up. I know we don't do a lot of no-gi here. I would love to start training some no-gi to get ready for this tournament." And he said, "Okay, that's great." And then like 2 days later, it was a Friday, and he stood up and he made an announcement in class. He was like, "Hey guys, TJ is going to be teaching no-gi on Friday nights. Everybody wants to learn no-gi." And I was like, all right. So it was kind of a baptism by fire type of thing, right? But that was years ago. And so I try to hold my own in the no-gi. Like I said, I think it makes your technique sharper and a little bit cleaner, because it has to be. But man,
it has to be.
The cardio has to be there. Especially, depending on the guy you're fighting. Like, whenever I found myself in no-gi competitions, it was always the guys with the cauliflower ear and the broken nose.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I need a different division. I need like the old man division, the guy that's married with 2 kids, right, with minimal time to train. That's the division I need. And so, finding myself going against these monsters in no-gi, man, and just getting thrashed on. So my no-gi defense is pretty good. My offense could be better if my cardio gets better.
Like, can I get the hobbyist over here?
Right. That's what I need. The hobbyist.
I need the hobbyists. I don't want the hardened criminals. I want.
And you meet some of those dudes, man, and they're young and up and coming. Like, so Vic, Warrior over in Ackworth, he's got a lot of kids that wrestled at Woodland. He's got 2 boys, and they grew up wrestling. So he knew all these guys when they were like 5, 6, 7 years old. Well, now they're like 20 and 21 and 22, and they're coming to train jiu-jitsu. Well, they want to learn to do MMA, but they all had that wrestling pedigree, a great wrestling pedigree, and all of them with the cauliflower ears and don't care and just ready to tear something up. So, there's a bunch of monsters. Sean Applegate down here at 10th Planet Atlanta, he's got a bunch of killers in his room too, and they're all younger guys, right, that are coming up, but they're all hardcore, dude. They like, I know one of his guys trains like 2 times a day, right, 7 days a week. That's all he does. He doesn't work. He just trains, and he's out there killing people. He's just destroying folks, man. So, but that's always the fun part of it too, right? I think that's what drew us into it in the beginning, right? Is we got smashed and we're like, man, I got to know more about this. And so even when I go get thrashed by a lower belt, and it's like, all right, well, I survived today barely, right? But I'll be back tomorrow. But I'll be back tomorrow, and we'll do it again. So it's just that. Oh yeah, it's just that love for it. I think that just kind of keeps you going. Definitely, it's therapy for a lot of people.
Oh yeah, it is.
How did you start?
It is. I randomly found it, man. Met this guy who, he's like a brother to me now. I love him to death. He was working at GNC, and he was standing behind a counter, and he was kind of like, holding his arm like this. So I was just like, you wouldn't like that yesterday. What happened? Uh-huh. So he was like, oh, I was, rolling, and I injured, injured my arm doing training. And I was like, okay, well, what do you train? He's like, I do jiu-jitsu. So I was like, oh, okay. I knew about jiu-jitsu, but never, really know jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu from like UFC, Royce Gracie, the name that just flies all over the place.
Sure.
And, we, ended up talking about it one day, and got invited to one of our affiliate schools, did an open mat there, got handed to me. And I was like, I got to figure this out. I gotta figure this out. Yeah, because like you said, you get, like it was like I rode with two different people. The first guy I probably had a good 30, 40 pounds over him.
Yeah.
I was half his age.
Yep.
And he wrecked me. Like, nothing. And then another guy, he was younger, smaller than me. So I'm thinking, okay, I got, I play football a lot. I got some sense of, groundwork or whatever. Couldn't do nothing.
Yeah.
Couldn't do nothing. I lost sleep over that.
Right. Yeah, same.
I'm like, stand up like, man, how could this guy this small make me feel like I'm just this tiny, weak little animal, man? I don't like this. I gotta learn this magic, man.
Yeah. So, yeah, and it was like black magic, wasn't it? Did you train any other martial arts before that, prior to that?
I did a little karate. I did MMA, but something as structured as this, no.
Yeah. Yeah, so. It's crazy what you go in there thinking and
right,
and then all of a sudden it's like, all right, I don't know anything, and I still have those moments. I still have those moments now as a black belt, man. I'll go in there and roll with somebody, and it's like, all right, everything I thought I knew just went out the window, right?
Yeah.
And I was talking to one of my new white belts that just started, and we were having this conversation, and I'm like, because they asked me, how long did it take you to get to black belt? I said, well, it took me about 10 years, give or take, right? Because I was going to school and doing all this stuff. But I said, don't focus on the belt, focus on learning what you can. I said, because once I strapped that black belt on, it was like I had to start all over again.
Oh yeah.
You have to start all over again
because
you miss so many details, when you start out. And I think that's, understanding that helped me become a better coach. I think that going back, and it's kind of like reviewing everything before a big exam, right? You're always going back and you're trying to pick apart all the small details. And so I started really doing that once I got my black belt and started teaching more. That's when I realized, man, my technique was sloppy, right? I missed all these smaller details that I needed to clean up. And I think the ability to kind of go back and do that it helps my students now, because I cover all the small details I can. But I even tell them, I said, I'm probably still missing something, right?
Oh yeah,
there's still something missing there. And so that's kind of when I find new techniques too. Like I'll come in with a game plan, and we'll work a couple techniques, but everybody's body type is different, and so not the same technique doesn't always work the same for everybody. Right. And so some people have to adapt to it. And I think that's where new techniques and stuff are kind of born out of is when you sit down and say, okay, you take a snapshot of that moment and say, okay, how can we make this technique work for you? And then all of a sudden now you're going down a whole nother path of techniques and entries and stuff like that. And so that's, that for me, the love of learning is the best part for me in jiu-jitsu.
Just
that continuous perpetual learning cycle that, that's why I also like going to other gyms and learning from other people, is because everybody's got a little bit of knowledge to sprinkle in, especially guys, and I'm learning from guys that haven't been doing it as long as I have.
Yeah.
Right? Because like I said, you just kind of miss some small details that those guys figured out a long time ago. So that's the fun part for me is the learning part.
Yeah, and this kind of goes for my non-jiu-jitsu listeners. For a guy who's been doing it for like 6.5 years, for someone who's doing it, almost 20 years, there's still a lot of stuff we do not know.
Don't have it.
We don't have it. We still, like you said, we still have those moments where it's like, damn, why did I not notice this before?
Yeah.
Or I had conversations where they was like, oh, I heard you got your black belt. Like, yeah, I got my black belt. It's, oh man, okay, that's cool. What's next? I finally learned what jiu-jitsu is.
Right.
like,
just now scratching the surface.
Right. I'm just now in the realm where I can learn jiu-jitsu. And it's like, what? I was like, I can't explain it. It's just how it is. Like, you grind to get to this pivotal moment where a lot of people don't see is being becoming a black belt,
right?
And it's like you get your black belt and it's like, all right, now who's going to teach me jiu-jitsu,
right?
Yeah. So it's like it's like a whole new journey, man. And like I was saying, from just the experience in between us two, it's still a lot of stuff I don't know, still a lot of stuff I don't understand. It's still a lot of stuff I'll text my instructor like, hey, blah blah blah, real quick. But it just shows you, man, the belt don't matter. This just signified that I've been around long enough to understand jiu-jitsu, but I still don't know jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, man, and that's the thing too that I tell them. Like, there's so many people out there that know so much more than I do. And I do my best to learn from those people. Like, I'll go to seminars, I'll host seminars, right, and try to bring people in. And I watch a lot of matches. I watch a lot of like ADCC. I watch a lot of IBJJF just to kind of see what everybody's doing. And man, the things you can learn from watching just a really good match. There was a good, I think it was the ADCC, the European trials. Oliver Taza and Joseph Chen were fighting. And so if you don't know these guys, they're two just studs and arguably two of the best grapplers, in jiu-jitsu right now. And I was watching their match, and it was funny because a lot of what their match was kind of things that we were going over in class already about taking the back and staying glued chest to back, right? But I watched the way they did it, and then I also was able to pick up on some mistakes that they made during the match, right? And so I like sitting down and analyzing and kind of picking apart matches, and then I take that, I put all that together, and then I bring it to my class. I'm like, all right, this is what we need to work on, right? You guys, and so that's always fun for me is watching a lot of jiu-jitsu matches too. I'll go to open mats around here, and sometimes. So, I'll get in a couple rounds with a couple of black belts, brown belts, whoever wants to roll. And then I just kind of sit off to the side and I just watch people because it is just kind of that, how the hell did he take my back 3 times? Right.
Yeah.
And so now I'm like, all right, now I got to sit off to the side and watch that dude and see what he's doing. That's the thing is it's like everybody in the room has something to teach somebody else. It doesn't matter what your rank is, what your age is, how long you've been doing it. I've been doing it for 18 years, dude. And I got this kid who is a monster wrestler, hasn't been doing jiu-jitsu very long, but he was doing something with his arm drags and he took my back, right? We were doing nogi and he took my back like 2 or 3 times. And I didn't get a chance to talk to him that day, but like a couple weeks later, I followed up with him. I was like, "Hey, man, I need you to show me your arm drag and what you're doing with that arm drag," because it was like I couldn't stop it every time. And so he showed it to me, man. And I took that information, I brought it to my class. I'm like, "All right, so everything that I taught you about arm drags is wrong. We're gonna do it this way."
That's just shows you your maturity in this sport, man. Because there's been times I roll with under lower belts and they did something I've never seen before, even doing training, and I'm like, all right, stop. I tell everybody to stop. Like, he's about to show what he just did. Right. Immediately, I immediately become a student.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I think the great thing about that is, as a coach and as a teacher, and I do this at the university too. It's the reason I do what I do is because I want to see people excel where I failed, right? I want to see, I want people to succeed where I missed, right? Where I might have shot and missed. I want them to hit the bullseye every time. And so just watching and seeing other people's growth and development through the sport, man, for me, that's one of the most gratifying things is seeing people be more successful than I was with whatever it was I was trying to do. And I think, when you have the mindset like you have, right, this dude just did something to me that I've never seen before. I'm going to let him show it to everybody, right? And then everybody gets better, right? Yeah. Everybody learns, everybody progresses, everybody moves forward, everybody gets better as a result of that. And I think that's that's one of the most beautiful things about the art side of it is, everybody can learn from everybody, right? Yeah. It's because I've been to schools, dude, and I've visited schools where you can feel the tension in the school sometimes with the ego and some people are just not, they're just not good with it. And then I've gone to other schools where, I'll call up if me and my wife go on vacation, I always bring my stuff with me. I'll bring my my no-gi stuff, but I'll research a couple of schools, right? Because we never go on vacation if there's not a jiu-jitsu school somewhere. And And so I'll reach out to these guys and I'm like, hey man, can I wear my own gear? Do you want me to rent one from you? How does this work? And I try to get a feel for them over the phone before I actually drop in. And so,
Yeah.
sometimes it may take a couple of phone calls before you find the right place, but it's for the most part, I think everybody knows the struggle with jujitsu. If they've been doing it, for more than 6 months, I think everybody understands kind of the struggle. And I think that's what builds that camaraderie in that community. And so, everybody's out there to learn something.
Yeah. I remember one of the last time I did some cross training and I was rolling with a guy. I think he was a black belt. And he set up this crazy darts choke. And when he got me, I tapped, he got up, and I just sat there. And he's like, "Are you all right? You all right?" I'm like, No. I'm good. I'm just trying to figure out how the hell you just caught me."
Right.
And I'm like, "Show me again." And he was like, "All right." So I think for like the next 3-4 minutes, we were just repping how he caught me in that darts. But yeah, I love to learn, man. Like you said, I love to learn. I love to get a fresh pair of eyes on a lot of stuff. I don't never claim that I know everything. If I'm showing a technique and someone noticed something else, I'm like, all right, let's see it. Let's explore what you're referring to, because I'm not gonna be like,
Right.
No, that's wrong, and I know my way is perfect. Like if you can show me a different way to get to the same destination, then hey, work it.
Yeah. No, for real. And it's one of those things too, because sometimes I'll be rolling with somebody and I'll feel them trying something new. Mm-hmm. Right. You get to a certain point and you can feel when somebody's working on something new. And so it doesn't work for them the first time. And then, we shake hands, we go again. It doesn't quite work for them the second time. And so then it's like, all right, now I'm going to kind of let them work a little bit more and see what it is they're trying to do. And then we can sit down and we can talk about it. We can discuss, right, what can maybe improve that technique a little bit. And then, bam, now you've got a new tool in your tool belt, right? And because you guys both sat there, picked apart the technique and learned from each other, because I don't think there's really no new techniques, right? There's a rear naked choke is a rear naked choke, an arm bar is an arm bar, a heel hook is a heel hook, right? I think what's changed over the years is how you enter into those positions.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's the biggest thing. And so the submission itself is, that's where the small details are, is how to lock down the submission, but how do you get to that point? Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's that's where jiu-jitsu has really grown the most. Because, before Danaher started doing leg locks with his squad, I mean, Dean Lister was doing it back in the late 90s, early 2000s. Right. So it wasn't like heel hooks were anything new. But I think Danaher came in and he cleaned up the technique and he addressed small details, and then he found more ways to enter into heel hooks. Right. And then it became this big thing. And so I think, because the way I teach is, we teach, take down, pass the guard, dominant position, but then control position, right, before you actually try a submission, because you can be in a dominant position, but if you fly for a submission without having control, you just wasted all that time.
Yeah. And, now you got another scramble.
Yeah, and now it's another scramble. And so until you understand the difference between dominant position versus control position, submissions are going to be a lot harder for you. But once you understand control position, then the submissions come a lot easier. And so I think it's getting to those positions is what really has changed over the course of the last 10, 12 years. And that's why you always got to be on your toes, dude. It's crazy. I think, and that's why I like going to some of these schools where there's a younger group of people, younger coaches and stuff too, because they got new ideas. Right. And they're teaching their people new ideas. And I'll get caught a couple of times. And I'm like, all right, what the hell are we doing here? How are you doing that? And then they show you. And it's like, it's mind blowing, some of it. Because some of it is so mind blowingly simple that you're like, how the hell did I miss that? Right. But then some of it is also pretty complex, man. And you have to have a certain body type to do it. So you got to find what works for you.
Got to find what works for you. And like, I think one of those like big kind of like growth moments for me was thank you, Amazon. I was talking to my training partner, and we were just going over just kind of like playing around with stuff. And we were talking about like a rear neck choke, rear neck choke, short choke, and everything else like that. And I found myself, what I like to do is, if I'm in a seatbelt grip, if this arm is pent, what I like to do is try to finger walk my arm across the shoulder.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, I like that. But I'm like, what if I can get that a lot deeper or whatever? So what I end up trying to do was I, walk the hand behind the shoulder, and then I try to put my hand on this side.
Right.
So it's kind of like
you're
I'm
trying to go all the way around.
Yeah. So like if this is their neck, I'm here and I'm here.
Right.
And I'm like, I like that.
Yeah.
Because I could get a tap depending on who it is, but also it's a lot tighter. So they're gonna have to kind of like address his arm. Then I can start fishing for rear neck chokes or short chokes and stuff like that. But
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I know that's nothing new, but it's just something that I was able to sit down and figure out. So
yeah. And that's that learning piece of it, right? That's that learning piece. Because I tell all my students, every technique I show you guys isn't something that I just randomly came up with off the shelf, right? But I do find those little nuances sometimes in the technique that can maybe make it a little bit better, maybe make that choke a little bit tighter, right? Mm-hmm. And I always tell them, I said, I'm not taking creative license over any of this. I'm sure there is somebody on the face of the planet that already figured this out. But hey, look what I found, right? And then you start doing that. And then the great thing is, when you send your people into the competition and they do that technique and it works. Right? Yeah. And it's like, it does work. It does work. Right. That's a great man. It's a proud dad moment, right? It's a proud dad moment. So yeah, I love that stuff.
Oh yeah. I love what jiu-jitsu have done for me and a lot of people. Just the growth in it, and just the evolution that just keeps coming with jiu-jitsu. And like you said, man, it's like it's always changing, always something new. It's always like, something crazy. Like I think what the last big thing was like the buggy choke. Was like I guess the new
that enjoyed a little bit of that enjoyed dominance for a little bit, man. I don't know how much longer that's going to be around though. But you're right.
Yeah,
that is like the newest thing that everybody was trying. I had one of my guys try to hit me with it several times, and I was like, "You're going to stop doing that. That's annoying."
Yeah. Because for one, I find it annoying because I can't do it because I got short legs.
Right.
So,
Same.
That's why I don't like it.
Yeah.
But seeing the buggy choke, and I think I was watching one of the EBI invitationals, and a guy went for a buggy choke, and then he did a reverse, and then his opponent did a reverse buggy choke, and I'm like, all right, man. All right.
Getting out of control. It's getting out of control.
Like, y'all get out of here with this, man. I'm like, get your long legs out of here.
I saw. I can't remember if it was a subversive or a submission. It was one of those submission only tournaments, and where slamming was allowed. And I think one dude got another dude in a buggy choke, and then the dude that was caught in the buggy choke just stood up and slammed the dude on the ground.
Yeah, I seen that. I was
like, all right, well, there's the end of the buggy choke. You don't want to try that in the cage for sure. So, but yeah, that's that those new techniques are born. It's like we were saying, is the different body types, and sometimes you got to find a technique and make it work for you. Like, I'm not doing a buggy choke on anybody because I got a 32-inch inseam, right? That's not working for me. But yeah, you see some of these longer and lanky guys that are monsters with triangle chokes, but now all of a sudden they got that buggy choke, right? And so now you got to watch out for them too. And I always get nervous for my guys when they're fighting somebody with those long legs. I'm like, all right, watch out for this, watch out for this. And, sometimes they get caught, sometimes they do well, but yeah, the evolution of the game, I think it changes like maybe every 5 years, right? It's something new. And I think the reason that is it's gaining so much popularity, and that's awesome, right? That's amazing that it's gaining so much in popularity, because that's where new ideas come from. Is it's kind of a changing of the guard, every 5 years or so. You get a new group of people and they're like, hey, let's do this, let's try this, let's do this. Eddie Bravo did it with 10th Planet. John Danaher did it with Enzo Gracie's academy. Marcelo Garcia was the man back in the day. He was the human backpack. He was choking the shit out of everybody, right? And so it's just one of those things that I think it's about every 5 years you start seeing a new technique roll through, or a new takedown roll through, or something like that. And that's like alluding to what you said, that's the evolution of the sport. And that makes me happy, because now I know it's just going to continue growing, and there's going to be so much more to learn.
Yeah. I mean, I know that it has to be exciting. Even for me, even for the short time I've done it, it's exciting to see. But just someone has, that's been in the game for so long, it's crazy. Because even like our master, Joe Moera, for example, he's been doing this for since he was like 6.
Right.
So,
Wow.
So there's nothing he haven't seen yet.
Right.
But, even with him at his age, he's a coral belt. He posts on Instagram and Facebook all day. He's just training. Cool. If it's not a video of him training, it's a video of him on the plane, talk about whatever seminar he's about to go to. If he ain't doing that, it's always something jiu-jitsu related. It's either working out, jiu-jitsu, or family. That's the only thing that he posts every day.
Every day.
So, but just, always, keeping up with him, the videos that he posts or he'll send us that he's, doing. He's, like I say, he's in this, 60s, 60s, I believe.
Nice.
He's been, like I said, doing this for so long, and he's still evolving, still growing, still developing his game.
Yeah.
And it's just like, that's the kind of jiu-jitsu that I love right there. Like, no matter how old you are in the game, you're still like, okay, I still want to learn. There's still so much to do and still so much to teach.
You're never going to know it all, man. So you got to make the most of your short time on this planet, right? And
yes, sir.
Try to learn as much as you can and have the biggest impact on others, and share that and share that information, and that's what makes it better.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Cool deal.
All right, TJ. We got a question to ask, man. We ask everybody to come on the show.
Okay.
Past or present, top 3 people, no particular order. Who would you love to get a chance to roll with?
Oh man. So wow, that's a good question. I think right now, I would love to, because I've rolled with a lot of guys, high level guys like Marcelo Garcia and stuff like that. I've rolled with him at a seminar. I recently attended a Craig Jones seminar not too long ago. I didn't get to roll with him. I think if I had my choice, I think the top 2, I would love to go out to a B Team Jiu-Jitsu out there in Austin, Texas, and roll with Nicky Rod, because I think he's amazing. He's an amazing technician. Yes. And then if I had another choice, I would probably go out to the Art of Jiu-Jitsu, where the Mendez brothers train, and I would love to roll with Tynan Dalpra, who is one of their black belts out there. Tynan Dalpra is just an absolute beast in the gi. I think he recently had a match, no gi, and who did he fight? I can't remember if it was Hulk Barbosa or it was on one of those smaller submission only tournaments. But Tynan Dalpra out of the Art of Jiu-Jitsu. I think I want to say they're out in San Diego. I can't remember. And then probably Nicky Ryan out there in Texas. Nicky Ryan.
Yeah, I would love to get Craig Jones and Nicky Rod has been slowly creeping up my list of favorite submission jiu-jitsu practitioners, and I've been following them on social media for a little bit, and just kind of trying to learn as much as I can from just watching. And I would love to get a chance to roll with those.
I think Nicky Rod's athleticism is pretty amazing, but yeah. I think Nicky Ryan is really. I think I could learn so much from that dude, because he's Gordon's younger brother. He came from Danaher Death Squad, but he really is within himself just a really great coach and a really great technician. And so Nicky Ryan is somebody I would love to pick his brain and learn a little bit from.
Definitely. Yeah, man, that's some heavy hitters right there, man. And like I said, it's just want to learn, man. It's like, like I said, you get that black belt. It's like, okay, I just want to learn. So
Yeah,
learn. Who can I learn from?
Gotta learn more, right?
Yeah, it's like a membership to a secret society. It's like you want
It
to learn,
is.
you want to
It
learn as
really
much
is.
as possible. Yeah.
And that's the crazy thing too, is it takes a lot of dedication and commitment to get to that point. Not a lot of people make it to that point,
Yeah.
but I think you're going to start seeing a lot more black belts coming up through the ranks because of the gain in popularity, because everybody is trying it, and now wrestlers make a really good transition into jiu-jitsu, because they have that background, and so you're seeing people that are in it for a less amount of time getting their black belts a lot earlier, just because they pick up the technique and they do it well. But I think it's because it's gaining so much in popularity that you're going to start seeing a lot more black belts coming out of the woodwork.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see where it goes, because, like I said, it's always evolving, always changing, and just growing. And who knows, in the next 5 years, man, it's just gonna be jiu-jitsu, probably like the only thing left.
Oh man,
Everyone
you
doing
got so
jiu-jitsu.
many you got so many young guys. You got the Ruotolo twins, right? They
Oh
train out of
God, dude,
Outpost.
yes,
But
yes.
now you got not only do you have Tynan Dalpra out of the Art of Jiu-Jitsu, you also have Mio Finegra, who is a little female, and she has a twin sister, and they're both training right out of the Art of Jiu-Jitsu, and they're absolute beasts too, man. I don't think they're much older than, like, I don't know, 16, 17 years old, maybe. And so I used to watch the Ruotolo twins, when they were coming up, back when they were like 10 or 12, and they were training. And it's like, okay, this is the next generation of people that are coming through, man. And you got like what the hell is his name, Diogo, Baby Shark, right? That guy has been coming up through the ranks of no gi, just destroying people. And so you're seeing a lot of young up and coming fighters, man, that are just phenomenally talented. They got a great work ethic, and in the next 5-7 years, those are the ones that are going to be on the top of the game, I'm sure.
Yeah, like Mike Musumeci, his sister started his sisters competing now, and I was like, oh my goodness, dude.
Yeah, you want to talk about a
Damages.
technician, man? Mikey Musumeci, he's a great technician, dude.
Yes,
Right? As little as he is,
knowledgeable.
he is.
That just shows you, man, the power of jiu-jitsu, man. No matter the
Yep.
size, it's just the size of the fighting the person and technique.
Yeah,
very, very good technique.
Willingness to learn, man. Willingness to learn.
Yeah, it shows, man. You get out, you get what you put in, man. If you go out there and you give it all, it's gonna give it all back to you.
Yeah,
just that simple.
Yeah.
All right, TJ, man. Unless you got any more questions for me, man, fire away. If not, let the people know what you got. If you got anything coming up for you, your school, shout them out, man. The floor is all yours.
Oh, not a whole lot going on. The school's growing a little bit at a time. We try to focus on some of the smaller tournaments for the white belts, blue belts, that we have training at the school. And so we just kind of try to stick to a good training regimen. It's nice to get the holidays out of the way, because everybody's out of town on the holidays, and training kind of slows down a little bit for a lot of people. But just getting everybody back on the mat, man. And so I'm just going to keep grinding it out and trying to figure out what I want to be when I grow up. So,
right.
When I figure that out, I'll reach out and let you know, Lamar.
For sure, man. But yeah, down the line, man, I'd love to have you back, man. See how everything's working out for you, man.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'll touch base with you in a few months, right? A few 6 months, and touch base, and we'll probably come back with a whole bunch of new stuff that we didn't know anything about.
I know, right? Exactly. That's what I'm hoping for.
All right, Lamar. Well, thank you, man. It was an honor to be on your show. I appreciate it, and look forward to the next one.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Appreciate it. Well, that's the end of today's episode. I would love to thank TJ one more time for coming on the show and bless us with his jiu-jitsu knowledge. Hope you guys enjoyed. Please go and follow our Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube page to stay updated on all future episodes. This has been Talk Your Jits Podcast. Keep rolling, keep grinding, and remember, long live jiu-jitsu. Have a great day.
Amen to that.